What's up, everybody? We are live. We have a great card this Saturday. We have, I think, UFC 3 or 4 weeks in a row. UFC 251, we got Usman versus Masvidal now. It was supposed to be Burns, but now I feel like this is even a better fight, in my opinion. Joining me is my co-host, as always, Kelton. And then also we have MMA Kings on the podcast. MMA Kings, what's up, man?
What's good, man? I'm glad to be on your show. Thanks for having me. I was watching you guys like 2, 3 years ago, so it's cool to finally be on here. And I'm excited to break down this card with you guys.
Nice, man. Anytime, go follow him on Twitter. And Kelton, what's up, dude?
What's up, man? I'm super pumped. 3 title fights. This card's unbelievable. Even the debuts on this card, bro. Like, you got the Fight Nights Global Flyweight Champion, the M1 Lightweight Champion, the Ryzen Light Heavyweight Champion, all making their debuts on this card. So, like, even the newcomers, we're getting some really, really solid action here. And my boy Mark, it's good to have you on, bro. Me and you have been cool for a little while now. You're really killing the game right now, so it's a pleasure to have you on, hear your breakdowns, and ready to just do this shit with you guys, man. The week off we had kind of sucked, and I'm ready to get back into it.
It did, man. This is a really good card, so let's fucking do this, man. First fight of the night, we got D. Grant versus Martin Day, and I'm going to let Kelton go first because I believe he has a play.
Yeah, man, this is an interesting fight, bro, and one of many fights that I went back and forth at one point on. And man, when I look into this fight, I'm gonna say it's easily the lowest level fight on this card. I don't think highly of either guy, but when you actually go in and look into it, I think there might be some value on the well, I got plus 155 personally. I took the shot on Davey Grant here, man, just because I kind of don't like what I see from Martin Day in a lot of areas, like the Jamie Alvarez fight on Contender Series. Granted, that was a couple years ago now, but he really, it wasn't a good look. He kind of got blanketed there. He had no answers for the takedowns, no get up there. I will say it looked a little improved in his UFC debut against Pingwan Liu, but like the thing is, that's not what Pingwan Liu does. Pingwan Liu is a striker, and wrestling is kind of, that's just not his game. So on one hand, you can look at it like maybe the technique of the takedown defense got a little better, but like it was against a striker, man. I think Davey Grant, he's a guy who just came out and got 6 takedowns in his last fight en route to a decision. Knock on him in the past was inactivity. There was like a good 3-year stretch there where he just wasn't fighting at all. But now it's actually the opposite. Martin Day has been the more inactive guy. I believe he has not fought since October 2018, something like that, coming off a layoff. Maybe he's made improvements. I've heard that he's been working on his strength and conditioning. Obviously, there was a cardio issue in his last fight. And Davey Grant doesn't have the best cardio either, but I kind of feel like he needs to come in here and land takedowns. He's not going to outstrike Martin Day. He knows what he has to do. He just did it in his last fight, so a plus 155 odds. I'm gonna take the more experienced guy, the guy who's fought higher level competition to get the upset win here. So although I'm not high on his ceiling in the UFC, I think plus 155 is a decent price to take the shot on it.
Mark, what do you got, man?
Yeah, so I was actually going back and forth on this one too. Initially, I had Day. I think he has a much better striking. I love that Taekwondo background he comes from. And going back and watching that Liu fight, I do think he edged it. I think if that wasn't in China, I think he would have got the nod. But looking at the line here, and I'm seeing plus 155 on Davey Grant, when I think this is going to be a really, really close fight. I do like that line. I do think it's dog or pass, and he's going to be my pick. I think it'll be a close decision, but I do think he'll steal some rounds with, mixing in 1 or 2 takedowns, and just having some top control. So I'm going to go ahead and take Davey Grant. I'll take him by a close 29-28 decision.
This is a close fight. I like to shit on Davey Grant. A lot of people do because, he's not really that good of a fighter. But when you watch the tape, this is a pretty close fight because Day definitely has a lot of red flags. He is the better striker. Obviously, I do think that Grant's chinny too. He's getting up there in age. He's probably at the end of his career, but he does have a clear path to victory. He could definitely take this guy down. His boxing's pretty decent too. But I just think personally that Day's going to style on him on the feet. And, potentially I can see a finish here. But then again, it's dog or pass. From a betting perspective, I would not bet on Day at minus 170. So I do think Kelton has a live dog here. But, yeah, I'm going to go with Day with the KO. But it's just not a confident pick at all. I'm going to stay away from DraftKings too from this fight. So next fight, we got Carol Rosa versus Vanessa Melo. I mean, this is kind of a low-level fight. Mark, who do you got in this fight?
Yeah, so I got Carol Rosa. I think she styles on Melo. I don't really love the price. I do think it's accurate, but I don't see any value in minus 240, especially for low women's MMA. But, going back and watching Carol Rosa's debut, I do think she looked really good. She has really good stand-up. She has solid Muay Thai. She has, really high striking output. So I do think she'll kind of just pick Melo apart throughout the 3 rounds and get a clear, probably say like 30-26 decision. I think she'll get a 10-8 on one of those rounds. So yeah. So give me Carol Rosa. I got her by decision.
Yeah, I'll keep this pretty short, dude. I don't think Melo's good. I don't think she's UFC material. Rosa kind of impressed me last fight. She has a lot of volume. She has pretty good boxing. I think she was a big underdog last fight, wasn't she? Yeah, she was. And she was supposed to fight someone. Wasn't she supposed to fight the Raging Panda? I think she was a couple weeks ago. I mean, that'd be a pretty good fight. But yeah, Rosa's impressed me, man. I mean, when you watch the tape on her, like before the UFC, wasn't that good, but she looked pretty good last fight. But then again, I mean, this is kind of a low-level fight, but Melo's just not good, dude. I don't think Melo's good at all. I'll go with Rosa by decision. Not confident at all. Kelton, who do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to complete the trifecta. I'm going to go with Carol Rosa as well. I think the price tag is pretty much warranted. Vanessa Melo, she's a pretty tough girl. If you watch that debut against Irani Aldana on short notice, she definitely got worked in that fight, but I thought she gave a pretty good account for herself when it comes to just toughness and overall heart, stuff like that. So I definitely see this fight going a full 15, but it's so interesting, man, because Carol Rosa landed 177 strikes in her last fight, but her opponent on the other hand, Procopio, who I'm not entirely high on her, she landed pretty close to the same amount. She landed somewhere in the 170s as well. It was just a very, in my opinion, it was kind of a low-level fight. I'm not very high on Rosa. I do think she's the much better fighter here, though. I will say that. And man, the whole thing, DraftKings with this fight, man. So out of the 177 strikes that Carol Rosa landed in that fight, Fight Metric decided to count 171 out of those 177 as significant strikes. So she put up a gigantic score of 125.5 points. And dude, I feel like this fight is going to be very, very similar. I feel like Vanessa Melo is kind of a punching bag, just like the girl Carol Rosa just fought. And Vanessa Melo, she's not afraid to come forward, to eat a few, to give a few. So I see this fight being very similar in the fact that it's going to be a high volume 15-minute fight. So man, and looking at around that same price range, I think people playing DraftKings are going to be a lot more willing to pay $200 less for a Rose Namajunas, even a Leo Santos, or even paying a little more for an Amanda Ribas. I think Carol Rosa might be one of the biggest sleeper picks on DraftKings this week, just because she's not a very big name, man. But the proof's in the pudding. She throws high volume. I think she's going to score a hell of a lot of points here and probably win somebody $1 million this weekend. So I'm going to go with Carol Rosa. I'll agree with Mark. I think she'll get a 30-26 decision.
Yeah, man. So next fight, man, we got a good fight. We got Aurelian Paiva versus Zhumagulov. You already know I'm going to fuck that up. Mark, what do you got in this one, man?
Yeah, so this is actually my first bet of the card. I got Aurelian Paiva at minus 180 for 1 unit. I just think this is a really, really tough matchup for Zalgas. I think Paiva is a much better striker. He's much longer. He's much, better with his movement. I just see him knocking this guy out in the second round. And if you go back and you watch Zalgas's fights, I forgot the Russian he fought last time. I think it was Bogatov. If you go back and watch that fight, I actually thought he lost that fight. It was close, but I do think, he got lucky there. And then I also thought he got lucky in the Tagir fight. That was another really close fight that he probably shouldn't have won. And if he's having really tough times with, these fighters, I don't think he's going to do well against Paiva. I just see Paiva just cracking him with that 1-2 down the pipe, kind of like he did to Mark De La Rosa. So yeah, I think there's a lot of value in his line right now. I think he's minus 165. So, I thought minus 180 had value, and minus 165 I think is a really good bet. So yeah, I got Paiva. Give me him a second round TKO.
Nice, man. Kelton, who do you got?
I'm going to agree, man. I got Julian Paiva in this fight. He's impressed me very much in the UFC. I had him big last fight against Mark De La Rosa. I thought that was a complete mismatch going in. He proved that to be the case. And like, one thing about it, like this kid's still so young, and it's crazy. He's what, like 23 years old, over 20 fights already. It's good to see these young kids with that much experience already. And it's not like he fought complete bums on the regionals either. And it showed in his UFC debut when he had a extremely close fight with Kai Kara France, who, you know, very sharp striker in his own right. I thought Julian Paiva could have arguably been given that decision. And then there's this other fight, Rogerio Bontorin. That can't really count that fight just because there was a cut, there was a cut 2 minutes in. So I don't really look at that fight too much. Although I'd love to see them run it back one day because I think Bontorin's a good prospect too. But yeah, I think Paiva kind of rolls here. Zalgas, Mark mentioned it, man. He's been winning these fights, and he's been racking up a hell of a lot of experience too, man. Like 25 minutes against former UFC title challenger Ali Bagatinov, 25 minutes against Tyson Nam, 25 minutes against that Tagir guy who's going to be making his UFC debut soon. But I really looked at that Tyson Nam fight the most just because Tyson Nam is another tall striker, just like Julian Paiva. And Tyson Nam was really able to, back Zalgas up against the cage. He was the way more physical guy. Zalgas is a little small for even flyweight, which is kind of crazy to say. He doesn't have much power either, too. So I don't know. I'm sure Julian Paiva will have respect for his power, but this could be a case where, like, maybe he feels Zalgas' best punch and it's not that hard, and he just decides to, let it loose. So I agree with Mark. I think we could see like a second round TKO here for Paiva. He's really putting it together. In my opinion, he's a top 10 flyweight. So yeah, I'll agree. Second round TKO Paiva. And I think he's a really good DraftKings sleeper as well.
Yeah, man, I'm completing the trifecta here. Paiva's just so much bigger than him. Zalgas is small, dude. He's a small fucking flyweight. And Paiva's a good grappler too. I feel like Zalgas has to get this fight down on the mat. And I think it's going to be hard for him on the feet. I think Paiva's so much better. Dude, Zalgas is in a lot of close fights too. Like if you watch his fights on the regional scene, he's in a lot of fucking close fights that could go either way. So like, I mean, I think Paiva's a good fighter. I think Paiva could potentially be a top 10 guy, maybe even farther than that. And the fight with Bontorin, like it's controversial, man. I feel like he could have won that. I feel like he could have took over and like possibly won that fight if that wouldn't have happened. It is what it is. But yeah, I think Paiva's just a lot better than this kid. And before I watched the tape, I mean, seeing a Russian as the underdog, or wasn't he? It was a pick'em. It was like what, -120 each. I mean, that's crazy, man. I thought this kid was pretty decent, before tape because he's a Russian. And then you watch the tape, I'm like, dude, this guy's kind of sloppy, dude. So I'm gonna go with Paiva with the KO. I do think he's a good play on DraftKings. Next fight, I mean, this is probably this is the number one fight I just don't care about. Marcin Tybura versus Maxim Grisham. I mean, Tybura is a fucking fade, dude. He's a can. I don't think he's that good. I used to think he was good in the past. And then he had all those fucking quit jobs, and yeah, he won. He beat fucking the biggest jobber in the division last fight. What's his name? The guy that's fucking Australian dude, or not Australian?
Sergey Spivak.
Yes, that guy's a fucking bum, dude. But I mean, Grisham, I don't know, man. I mean, you watch the tape on him. I mean, yeah, he fucking he went to draw with Jordan Johnson, all that stuff, and he had two close fights with Jordan Johnson. But I mean, we saw Jordan Johnson's a fucking fraud. This is a weird fight. I mean, the guy that Tybura was supposed to fight, I thought Tybura would have won that fight, but now, I mean, it's hard to trust Tybura at all. I mean, he's chinny. He doesn't have a good gas tank. He throws that teep kick. He just fucking, I don't know, like it's kind of hard to like really gauge Tybura. Like he has a good ground game, but I mean, can he take down Grisham? I don't think so. I think Grisham's just gonna, win a comfortable decision here. So yeah, I got Grisham with the decision. Kelton, who do you got?
Man, this is one of those really close fights I've been going back and forth on. So the original opponent, Romanov, like that was a guy who, of course, like right after I taped 3 or 4 of his fights, the fight got canceled. But man, that would have been an interesting fight. I actually was pretty solid on TYybura there just because I feel like that was the kind of matchup he can thrive on, because if there's probably one best asset of TYybura, he's actually had really good takedown defense in the UFC. And I kind of feel like he could have just like not outworked him, but just, neutralized Romanov's game plan, and he probably would have beat Romanov up on the feet. And I don't think highly of that Romanov guy, but this is a way different fight, man, because Maxime Grishin, he's a 6'3" striker, coming up from light heavyweight, super experienced though, man. Like I believe this guy has over 40 fights, insane record too. Like And Justin mentioned those draws. Those were 2-round fights, man, in the PFL tournament. And so he only lost 1 round of those fights. And you can arguably say if there was a 3rd round there, he probably would have taken over and won each of them. So, like, if those fights were 3-round fights, like, you could sit here and say Maxime Grishin is, like, 19 wins out of his last 20 fights or something ridiculous like that, with the lone loss being to Magomed Ankalaev in the 4th round of a title fight. So this dude, Maxime Grishin, 100%, he's ready for the big show. It's just the big question here is the size, man, because TYybura is going to have a lot of weight on this guy. If he is able to get him down early, use his weight to tire Grishin out, it's going to be a really tough going for Maxime Grishin in the 2nd and 3rd round. He's probably going to be tired from carrying TYybura's, weight. So it's a tough one, but I'm actually going to go with Maxime Grishin here, man. Like, although he's giving up that size and weight, TYybura is going to be giving up some speed. So, like, I feel like Grishin's going to be able to use his superior footwork. He's faster. I think he's going to be able to avoid the takedowns. I think he's going to start putting fist to chin on TYybura, and TYybura's chin is quite deteriorating these days. So I actually think Grishin might be live for a KO. I like him on DraftKings. So I'll say I'm not very confident, though, of course, just because short notice, like a 30-pound weight difference probably. So it's a tough one, but I'm going to be rooting for Maxime because I'll have more shares of him on DraftKings for sure.
Mark, what do you got, man?
Yeah, I agree with you, Kelton. It's a really tough fight to call. It's, right behind there with the Davey Grant fight. It's one that I have been going back and forth on. We have seen Grishin fight at heavyweight. I know that was like 9 or 10 years ago. He even has a win over Volkov. So, yeah. I mean, that's pretty cool, but that was a long, long time ago. So it's one of those things where, like, short notice, he's moving up to heavyweight. There's a lot of question marks, but, I always do look to fade TYybura. I'm just not high on him. I think, his durability is pretty much gone. So I do think, Maxime, he does come in here and he gets the 1st round KO. Like I said, I'm not confident. I could totally see where, TYybura can come out and just kind of lay on him. But, I'm going to go ahead and take a shot on Grishin, but no bet for me.
Yeah, man. So the next fight we got, damn, this is a banger, man. We got Leonardo Santos versus Roman Bogatov. Kelton, what do you got here, man?
Man, this is a super intriguing fight. Like, man, this is a really awesome stylistic clash because Roman Bogatov, so he's the, what is he, the M1? Yeah, he's the M1 lightweight champion. He's actually fought all right competition. Like 22-4 guy, a 20-5 guy, 7-0 guy. Like he's fighting good guys out there, and he's getting good looks in M1. He's got over 10 fights now. I think he's definitely ready for the big show. It's just like stylistically, like his best tool is his wrestling. He's actually a really good wrestler. It's just, do you want to take down Leo Santos? Because Leo Santos is arguably one of the highest level BJJ guys in the sport. Multiple time world champion. So it's like, do you want to take that guy down, or do you want to use your wrestling in reverse and try to outstrike Leo Santos? But even then, dude, like Leo Santos is super tall, super long. He's a sniper of a striker. 2 knockouts within his last, 2 or 3 or 4 fights. And that's against Kevin Lee and Stevie Ray too. Stevie Ray is not the best competition in the world, but not many guys have knocked out Stevie Ray. So I'm impressed from Leo Santos on the feet, on the ground. So I just don't know how Roman Bogatov is going to be able to win this fight other than just like maybe pushing Leo Santos up against the cage for 15 minutes. Maybe we could see some shit show like that, I guess. Or maybe if he's super careful and it just takes no chances once he gets top control. But I kind of view that as low percentage. Even though he's 40 years old, I'm going to go with Leo Santos here. I think eventually he's going to catch an opportunistic finish, whether it's on the feet or the ground. So I'm going to go with, I'll say, round 3 rear naked choke.
Mark, what do you got, man?
Yeah, so this is actually my second bet of the card. I have Leo Santos at -165. I think he's better pretty much everywhere. I mean, obviously, Roman does have, more of like a wrestling background, so I would give that edge over him. But, everything else, stand up, if it stays standing, I just see Leo Santos just teeing off on him, and using those liver kicks too that he was using last fight. And what I think is going to happen is he's going to start teeing off, on him to a point where Roman just tries to grapple. And then I think, Leo will sub him either off his back, or I think he'll sweep and, get mount and land some elbows. I just see, like, no matter where this fight goes, I just see Leo winning it. So I think the best path to victory for him would be by submission. So I'm going to go ahead and take Leo by second round sub.
Yeah, it's a good fight because I do think that Bogatov's going to win fights in the division. I mean, the guy has really good grappling. He's a big guy for the division. He has a path to victory here, but I just think Santos is a good fighter. I think he's definitely right outside the top 15. I mean, before the CB Ray fight, when he fought Martins, I mean, that was one of the worst fights I've ever seen in my life. A lot of people, including me, thought that he was, maybe even washed up. But then he went out there and fucking dusted CB Ray. Yeah, great right hand, dude. Good striker, great ground game. I mean, like Mark said, I don't see. I mean, I don't see how Bogatov wins this fight unless he fucking just takes him down and holds him down. But I mean, even if he takes him down, I mean, Santos is a fucking great ground game, dude. So I'm gonna go with Santos by I'm gonna say a TKO. I think he hurts him on the feet and then gets him down. Next fight, probably one of my favorite fights tonight. We got Makwan Amirkhani versus Mr. Finland versus Danny Henry. This is a good fight because pre-tape, I know a lot of people that are picking Henry here, and I know I bet Henry versus Hakeem and all that stuff, and I thought he was going to be a good prospect. And yeah, he lost to Ige last fight. He was a great fighter, but I don't know, man. I mean, I keep on going back to the Tamer fight and seeing how fucking a guy like that was fucking working him early. This is an interesting fight though because first off, I do think that Danny Henry has the way better. He has the way better cardio. Makwan gasses out every fight. But I think Makwan has a clear path to victory. I think he can take this kid down at will. I do think on the feet it's close too. I mean, the Hatchet has, decent boxing. He has good pressure, but he's slow. And Makwan's boxing's improved a lot. I mean, Makwan doesn't even train at SPG, I don't think, anymore. The Burgos fight was probably the best striking we've ever seen from him. In that first round, he won the first round. I mean, yeah, he took him down, but pretty good on the feet, dude. I mean, Makwan's jab looks good right hand. And Makwan's a tough kid too. I mean, I know he's been dropped multiple times against Jason Knight, but I mean, I do think he won that fight. But Jason Knight has better boxing than Henry. The line's a little off here, but the more I think about it, the more I watch tape, I have to go with Makwan here, dude. I think Makwan's just going to get him down and probably tap him out, dude. So I got Mr. Finland with a second round submission, but this is probably a play. This is probably a bet that you guys should like. Maybe if you have a live bet, like if Makwan fucking is gas after the first round, I think you could, probably take a stab on Henry live. So I'll go with Makwan with submission, but I think the line's a little off. Kelton, what do you think?
Yeah, that's a good point, man. If Makwan comes out, completely dominates them round one, breathing a little heavy, walking back to the stool, maybe you take that plus 300 Danny Henry. But yeah, man, the way I view this fight, like I do think Makwan Amirkhani is he's a level above for sure, in my opinion. But the thing is, when I look into this fight, you mentioned it, man, like it's the cardio. And not only that, Danny Henry's like a really big, strong guy. And I feel like Makwan's going to have to use a lot of energy if he wants to take the grappling route. Striking, I think striking is going to be close as long as Makwan's fresh. I probably would even give Makwan the striking edge. Just when it comes to like overall athleticism too, I think he just has the way higher ceiling, in my opinion. It's just like matchup wise. If he starts to slow down on a guy like Danny Henry's going to put it on him, and he's going to beat up Makwan really bad. So if Makwan doesn't come out and gets to that first round submission, uses a lot of energy in that first round, I can definitely see Danny Henry having a path to victory here, 29-28 unanimous decision or even a late finish. So I'm gonna pick Makwan. I'll even say he gets the first round submission because I do have a lot of respect for his ground game. But I wouldn't touch him at anything worse than minus 200.
Mark, what do you got, man?
Yeah, so I got Makwan too. I think the price is about accurate. I don't really see too much value there. It's just one of those things where I just think Makwan's going to be too strong in the grappling exchanges. And I don't really see what Henry can do to kind of offset that. Like, I don't really see Henry as a great striker, or I don't really see him having like tremendous grappling or anything like that. So even if it does go to the scorecards, I think Amirkhani still wins. I think he gets those first two rounds. But I do think he finishes in the second round by submission. So I'll go ahead and say Makwan by second round sub.
Man, this next fight, dude, is one of those fights that like I've had a tough time with this fight, man. We got fucking Zaleski dos Santos versus Muslim Sakilov and or Sakalayev. I like to say Sakilov, just fucking around. But yeah, I'm gonna let Mark go first. I believe that he has a play here. So Mark, who do you got, man?
Yeah, man. So I actually have a bet on Zaleski. I have a 1 unit. I think it was minus 110. Let me double check. Zaleski. Yeah, minus 110. So the thing here is like, I just think that Zaleski has more ways to win. Obviously, his best path to victory would be, you know, getting that trip takedown and getting the back and finding that sub. But, you know, I see a lot of people saying, you know, like he can't knock out why am I blank? Muslim. And I think that's crazy. I mean, like, would it be that nuts if he did one of those capoeira spinning kicks and knocked him out? I mean, or one of those flying knees? Like, I don't think it's super likely, but I don't think it's, you know, out of the equation. And it's just one of those things where I think Zaleski is going to come into the fight knowing that that's his strength, the grappling. And I think he's going to be exchanging just for that first minute or two. And then I think once things start getting a little dicey, I think he will find that trip takedown. I think he gets the back, and I think he finds that rear naked. So I'm going to Zaleski. I'm actually going to go first round sub.
Yeah, this is an interesting fight. I've been going back and forth in this fight because, you know, Zaleski's last 2 fights, I mean, number one, the fight against Leach was in fucking China. And I mean, he didn't look that good in that fight, let's be honest. And then against Kunchenko, I mean, I don't think he looked that good either. I mean, that was a close fight. I actually thought Kunchenko won that fight. But, I mean, I don't think Zaleski's washed. I don't know, man. Like, he has taken a lot of damage for sure his last 2 fights. But I think he has a good chin, though, for the most part. And he has a lot – he has – I think way better cardio than a Sakalayev too. So if this fight goes late, I definitely think he can take over. But on the feet, man, he does have decent striking. Not decent, it's pretty good, but a good jab, you know, good kicks. But I think, you know, Sakalayev, man, is a beast on the feet, dude. I mean, has really good fucking boxing, good kicks, and I mean, but we have seen him the Alex Garcia fight, right? That fight fucking scares me every time I want to fucking like, okay, I want to bet Sakalayev because, dude, that was bad, man. I mean, and we haven't really seen him on the mat since then, dude. So. And yeah, Zaleski isn't really a grappler, but you saw what he did to Millender. And I mean, yeah, Millender, yeah, let's be honest, Muslim has a better ground game than Millender, but still, though, I mean, I can still see Zaleski taking him down pretty easily, honestly. But I just don't know if Zaleski's going to show up because Zaleski's going to try to bang with him, or Zaleski's going to, you know, be smart like against Millender. So it's a close fight. It's dog or pass. But from a pick, I'm gonna go with Muslim. I think Muslim's gonna hurt him and get him out of there. But if this fight goes late, it's definitely gonna be Zaleski taking over. So yeah, I got Muslim. Kelton, who do you got?
Yeah, man, this is a really great fight. I'm super pumped. I'm so high on both guys. I love watching both guys fight. So I looked into it, and like originally my thoughts were, man, Zaleski has not been looking too hot lately. Muslim Salikov is out here on a serious win streak and highlight reel KOs. He's on the up. Zaleski's on the down, but like the thing is, this is actually like a really big step up in competition for Muslim Salikov. You know, Zaleski's been out there as a between, I'd say, like top 12 to top 17, like somewhere in that type range guy of, you know, one of the best weight classes in the division, man. I think people are kind of forgetting how good he is just because the last 3 performances have been a little iffy. And then on the other side, I kind of feel like Muslim Salikov is getting a little overrated, man. And y'all brought up the Alex Garcia fight. Dude, his grappling hasn't even really been tested since then. This is going to be, in Justin mentioned, is Zaleski going to be smart here? I have all the reason in the world to believe Zaleski is going to be smart here. He attempted 4 takedowns on Kunchenko. He landed 2 of them. That definitely helped him win the fight. And then the Curtis Millender fight, where it was pretty obvious that was the gaping hole in Curtis Millender's game. You know, he went out there and made easy work. I don't think Muslim Salikov is going to be quite as easy work as like a Curtis Millender. That being said, man, seeing Elizy was the underdog now, plus 115. He's 7,800 in DraftKings. Even though I think it's a close fight, I'm going to lean the underdog. I'm going to lean Zaleski to win this fight. I think the striking can be competitive, although Muslim does have some fucking firepower in his hands, and Zaleski did get knocked out 2 fights ago. But, you know, so he got knocked out 2 fights ago against Li Jingliang in China. Obviously, Li Jingliang came out with the fucking performance of his life there. Couldn't really let Zaleski get anything going. And then the Kunchenko fight, like, I feel like you can't really ragdoll Zaleski too bad for that, just because A, he won the fucking fight. B, I mean, that's supposed to be a bounce back fight. Like, he just come off a devastating loss. So like, just get the win by any means necessary. So I think the fact that he came out here and was able to bounce back from that bad loss against Lee. I think that shows that Zaleski still has some left to give. Although like his style kind of worries me just because like those all out action fighters, like the guys that just come in there, like I'm going out or you're going out, those kind of guys, like they tend to not have like the longest UFC careers. But like I said, man, Zaleski can be smart when he wants to. So I'm going to say he comes out here and I'll say he lands some good shots of his own on the feet and then eventually takes Muslim's back and gets a rear naked choke. I'll say round 2.
So this is probably one of the most intriguing fights in the card. I mean, for us, it is for sure. We got Volkan Oezdemir, fucking no time versus Jiri Prochazka. And I mean, both these guys, Kelton and Mark, have a bet on here. I have a bet. We're going against each other. I'm going to let both of them go first, and then I'll say who I'm going to go. Well, obviously, we're gonna know right now. Kelton, who do you got? And explain to everyone why you have a max bet on Volkan.
Oh man, you're spoiling it for everybody. Yeah, so Justin just said it. I do have indeed a 5-unit play on Volkan Oezdemir here at -150 odds. I personally cap it, -233, that range. I feel like he should be a big favorite here against Jiri Prochazka, or Prochazka, however you say his name. So Jiri's coming in here again, just like Maxime Grisham I was talking about. This is a guy who has had so many fights outside the UFC. He's definitely ready for the UFC, but the thing is, it's not a Maxime Grisham in the fact that Maxime is fighting a guy who's probably at the end, durability issues, TYybura's on the way out. This is a situation where a newcomer is coming in here and fighting a top 5 guy in the division. So Volkan Oezdemir, man, like this is a guy who constantly is like disrespected in the betting window. Like even going back to his UFC debut, he was like +300 against Ovin St. Preux or some shit. Big underdog against Misha Serkinov, big underdog against Jimmy Manoa. Of course, he goes on to win all 3 of those fights. And I think that's just because like people were looking way too much into that Kelly and Knudsen fight he had way back in the day in Bellator. But like the thing is, like he was so early into his MMA career. It was first L time. Grappling is obviously the weakness in his game, but man, I feel like he's starting to turn a corner here. Like he had that title fight against DC. If you actually watch that fight, he was looking pretty good in the first couple minutes before DC was able to implement his game. And then the Anthony Smith fight is definitely like the biggest red flag of Volkan's career. But like he was dominating that fight against Anthony Smith, though. And Anthony Smith is a guy known for comebacks. Anthony Smith is a guy that's known for pretty decent grappling. And then, of course, he comes out next fight, Dominic Reyes, who, I mean, we saw Dominic Reyes' last fight arguably beat the GOAT, John Jones. Dominic Reyes is without a doubt like a top 3 guy in the division. He lost that fight. It arguably could have gone his way. He even landed a takedown in that fight, showing new wrinkles in his game, and then comes out, absolutely destroys Ilir Latifi, and then beats Alexander Rakic. So he's on a nice little 3-fight streak right now. I believe he turned a corner. This is just a massive step up for Jiri. And like the thing is, like how they even match up. Most of Jiri's wins here, he's coming out and just hands down lunging at the guys. And guys like washed up fighters like CB Holloway, Fabio Maldonado. Like if you go and look at Jiri Prochazka's career and try to think about like his best win, it's probably like a Vadim Nemkov, but even Vadim Nemkov was like 4-0 there. The King Mo fight. So he got knocked out in that first fight against King Mo. He was winning, granted, but still, I've never seen Volkan Oezdemir knocked out cold before like that. And then the rematch, like King Mo was in the midst of like a 4 KO losing streak at that time. So I don't look too much into that win for Jiri. It's just level of competition, man. And if he comes in against Volkan with that hands down shit, like super aggressive, Volkan's a guy with serious power. He's going to make him pay. I think Volkan arguably is the more technical striker here, although Jiri is, he's probably the better athlete. He's a little bigger. He moves a little better. It's just when he does move and he does try to come in on Volkan, he's going to get slept. He's going to get slept bad, in my opinion.
Yeah, Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, I agree with Kelton, man. I got 1 unit on Volkan at -150. I like Jiri. I was watching his tape. I think he's a really good fighter. I think he's definitely deserving of a UFC spot. He's definitely put in the time. I think he has like 30 fights. Hey, stop. Sorry, my fucking cat. But he has like 30 something fights. He has, some good wins, but if you really look into the wins and if you watch the fight, like he's beating CB Holloway, who's over the hill. He's beating Fabio Maldonado, also over the hill. King Mo over the hill. Brandon Halsey getting there. So, and watching back that CB Holloway fight, I mean, dude, he took like 4 or 5 like vicious leg kicks like right off the bat. I mean, he did eventually KO him, but man, if he does that against Volkan and, if he leaves that lead leg like he did in that last fight, I think he's going to get chewed up. So I got Volkan and I got him by a TKO round 2. I just think he's too tough, too durable, and too much power. So, I just think it's too much of a step up, like you were saying, Kelton. I just don't really see how Jiri wins this unless he kind of gets like a flash KO or something, but I just don't see it happening. So I got Volkan round 2 TKO.
Yeah, man, I'm actually excited that I'm going against. There are not a lot of people out there on Jiri. I feel like everyone's fucking on Volkan, and this is my only play of the night. I got Jiri, man. 3 units at fuck. I don't even know what I got. Let me check real quick.
You got plus 140.
Yeah, plus 140. I think he's plus 125 now. I do think Volkan's a good fighter. I don't think he's bad. I mean, I've bet him before. I've fucking bet him versus Lionheart, and I mean, that was such a quick job, dude. I mean, Volkan is a good fighter, like I mentioned, but he's quit 3 times. I mean, he quit against Kelly, he quit against DC, quit against fucking Smith, and I mean, he looked so good against Smith, man, in the first round, and I mean, just gave up, dude. I mean, he gassed, he fucking broke his nose, he fucking wanted out of there, man. This is a striker versus striker matchup. I mean, I do believe that Volkan has, the better ground game, the better grappling, but I don't see him taking down Jiri. I don't see him controlling him on the mat. That's not going to happen. He might maybe get 1 takedown, but Jiri's going to get right back up. Jiri fights a lot like Ratchets, and, Ratchets, that was a close fight. I know a lot of people thought that Ratchets lost that fight, but I mean, I thought it could have gone either way, and I think Jiri's actually a better fighter than Ratchets, and I know that Jiri has not fought, a lot. I mean, really, the best win is probably Nemkov, and yeah, I mean, this is a step up in competition, but I still think Jiri's a good fighter, and I think Jiri's actually going to have a lot of success in the UFC, and Kelton says that Volkan's more technical. I actually disagree. I think Jiri's more technical. I think Jiri has really fucking good boxing, a good uppercut, a good straight left. He has good kicks. He's more athletic, like we mentioned. He's faster than Volkan. Volkan's slow too, and yeah, Volkan's really good at those short shots, and Volkan could 100% knock him out. But a lot of people are saying that Jiri is chinny and all this stuff. I don't see it. He's been knocked out twice, and one of them was that fucking that TKO against Bohan. I mean, that was a long time ago. That was a fun, and then the King Mo fight too. He was fucking dominating that fight. Like, I don't think he's chinny at all, actually, to be honest. And I mean, yeah, fighting with his hands down is definitely, I mean, a little concerned. I feel like I don't think that much because that's his style, man. I mean, his movement, dude, is really good, and that's one of the reasons why I think he's so good. I mean, the guy's on a 10-fight winning streak. The guy's fucking 23 wins by KO, man. I mean, Volkan can 100% get knocked out here, man. Volkan's taking a lot of damage too. So I think people are saying that Jiri's KO or bust. I wouldn't be surprised if Jiri got a fucking decision here either. I mean, let's be honest, dude. Jiri has the better cardio. I know Volkan won the 3rd round against Ratchets in a lot of people's eyes, but he still has bad cardio, dude. And I would not be surprised at all if he lost his fight and Jiri won a decision. So I don't think Jiri's KO or bust. I think he can 100% win a decision here. I know he has not won a decision. I mean, what, in a fucking long-ass time? But, yeah, man, a great jab. I mean, yeah, Volkan, he's a good fighter, but I can see Jiri getting the KO here, man. So I'm going to go Jiri with the first-round KO. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people and prove that this guy's going to be a top 5 guy in UFC. Yeah, man, just the cardio for Volkan I'm not impressed with, and honestly, man, I just think Jiri's a lot faster than him, dude. And I think he's gonna fight really long and just pick him apart and hurt him, man. So I got Jiri with the first round KO. Anything you guys want to mention?
Yeah, you mentioned the cardio and he has quit. You were right about that. Volkan Oezdemir has quit inside that octagon, but the cardio and the quitting that all stems from the grappling edge of things. And you look at the Knudsen fight, the Cormier fight, the Smith fight, all those fights. What they have in common is he was testing the grappling realm, and that's just not what Jiri does. That's what I've never seen, like, I've watched a lot of Jiri fights. I haven't seen some offensive wrestling or grappling from him. I've seen some good defensive, also some bad defensive. I have seen Jiri taken down. You mentioned you don't think he can get him down. I mean, I saw Brandon Halsey take him down a few times, held on top for a few minutes. Brandon Halsey pulled like one of the biggest stunts I've ever seen in my life in that fight. You should go back and watch that. So it was obviously it was in Ryzen, so I had the ropes, and freaking Halsey was like throwing himself outside the ropes on purpose, trying to, oh my God, it was one of the biggest fucking stunts I've ever seen. That guy's a joke. But anyway, yeah, he was taken down in the Nemkov fight too. Nemkov kind of gassed. He was green, but Jiri's been taken down a lot. So, I mean, I think Volkan has the grappling edge here. So I don't really think Jiri has the style to come out and test the cardio, test the grappling. So, and again, like you mentioned, he can win a decision. It's just, I feel like if he strikes with Volkan for 15 minutes, it's just, I see Volkan catching him at some point. He's just too defensively flawed.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I think Jiri's gonna have a really good future in UFC, and I mean, the
I
only thing
agree.
is
I
that
think he will too.
the only thing that's docking him is at the level of competition, but just the way he's fucking putting these guys away and just the way, like, his movement, bro. Like, I like it a lot, man. I mean, I just think he can style on Volkan, man, at range and just pick him apart and all that stuff. And I like his movement a lot. I think it's really good. He fights really long, and I mean, great jab, like I mentioned. I just think he's a better striker. I think Volkan is a good striker, but I mean, a lot of these KOs he's getting are just short shots against, and I don't see it happening here. I really don't. So I'm gonna go with Jiri by KO, and I know Volkan's never been KO'd. Well, the TKO against DC, but I think he's gonna sweep him here. So first fight of the main card. I mean, this is a short breakdown for me, and I'm sure from you guys too. We got Amanda Ribas versus Paige Vanzant. I'm a big Paige Vanzant fan. I'm sure everyone is. But yeah, she's gonna get smoked here. I think Ribas is better everywhere. I don't see it. I mean, yeah, Vanzant, the line maybe it's worth I don't know, like a small shot. I don't know. I wouldn't do it personally. Ribas is the real deal. I think she's gonna be a top 5 girl. I think Vanzant's gonna get her walking papers after this fight. And yeah, I got Ribas by first round submission. Mark.
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep it short too. I think just like you were saying, Ribas is better everywhere. I think if it stays standing, she's going to win a clear, 30-25. I think if it goes to the ground, she's going to get a submission. I just think she's going to dictate this fight wherever it goes. And, obviously she's unplayable. I think she's like minus 900 now. So obviously, I can't even say dog or pass because I don't even think like a $10 shot on Paige Vanzant's worth it. I think, rather just buy a burrito with that. So. Yeah, I got Ribas, second round submission.
Kelton, who you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna obviously go with Paige Vanzant here via in the first round. No, I'm just playing. I got Amanda Ribas. She's gonna take care of business here, man. Like, oh my goodness. I'm gonna be very surprised if Paige Vanzant even steps into the octagon on Saturday. But then again, Paige Vanzant has stepped up against tough fighters before. She has been in there with Rosa Namajunas, even a Michelle Watterson. So I don't buy in that Paige Vanzant is, scared by any means. And she showed a lot of toughness in that fight against Rosa Namajunas. If there's one thing I'll say about Paige Vanzant, she is a very tough chick. She has been she's gone through a lot in life. And if there is one good thing I'll give her about her game is that she's tough. And I'm actually going to give her the benefit of the doubt and say she doesn't get finished here, but Ribas will take care of business. She'll win every round, arguably 10-8 some of those rounds. So just wherever the fight goes, she's got it covered. Minus 750, minus 800, or whatever it is. That's probably not even steep enough. So Ribas 30-26 decision.
Yeah, real quick in the chat, I saw that BK said that Jiri's a bum. Oh my God. When people say stupid shit like that, I just think it's hilarious. I mean, you're going to sit here and say Jiri's a bum.
Get a rise out of you, bro.
Yeah, I think it's embarrassing you say shit like that. But anyways, next fight. I mean, this is another good fight. Jessica Andrade versus Rose Namajunas. I mean, yeah, man, this is a close fight. I'm going with the dog here. Me and Kelton were talking about why I'm not playing her. I mean, I'm just, I'm not confident, dude. I mean, Rose was fucking destroying her through that first fight. And I bet on Rose in that fight. And I was so pissed because I don't know, man. I mean, did she gas? I don't know what it was. I mean, she did actually gas, actually. But, I mean, her cardio is always good. So that's why I was like, dude, what the fuck has happened? This is a weird fight, dude, because I don't know where Rose's head is at, to be honest. And I'm sure a lot of people are saying the same thing, but did she have that drive? Because, yes, both these girls were TKO'd in their last fight, but I just think that the forward pressure and the grappling for Andrade, I mean, I just think that's enough to get the win. I mean, yeah, Rose is way more technical, but I don't know, man. I mean, I can just see Andrade fucking slamming her again and getting like the TKO. It's not going to happen, but I can see her slamming her, taking her down, hurting her with some big shots. And, I mean, I don't see how this fight doesn't happen the first way, man. So I'm gonna go with Andrade, man, with a finish, but I'm not confident at all. Kelton, who do you got?
Man, I'm so pumped for this fight. great rematch. I think this is a rematch that just absolutely needs to happen. It makes a lot of sense, especially now that Andrade is also coming off a TKO/KO loss, like obviously against Weili Zhang. So both these chicks have something to prove big time here, man. They both got chips on their shoulder. I'm sure they're both coming in on point. Man, you mentioned it. Rose was really giving her the business in that first, 5-6 minutes of that fight. And then Andrade was, as soon as Rose started to slow down a little bit, Andrade was able to implement her game. And, man, I don't know. It's just all about the adjustments, man. And I think just based on what I saw in that first 5 minutes, I think it's pretty clear Rose is the better fighter. It's just like Andrade has that style to break her. So it's a case where Rose is a better fighter, but stylistically it's a good fight for Andrade. So it's kind of just like a clash in angles here. I guess from a betting perspective, it's dog or pass. I mean, obviously you're getting plus 180 on the girl who won the first fight. So I would say that is the way to go, but I'm going to go with Rose Namajunas to get the win here, man. I think she is favored for a reason. It's just all about staying away from the dangerous shit, man. And I think she can do it. If it was last time we were talking also, the fight was in Brazil. Definitely not the home advantage for Andrade. Like she's getting this time a completely different environment. So maybe that plays a little bit of a factor. Who knows? I just think it's a tough fight to call. If you're gonna touch it at all, bet the dog. But personally, I'm good.
Mark, who do you got?
Yeah, I agree with you, Kelton. I got Rose too. I think she wins the decision, but I definitely think it's dog or pass. Especially seeing that first fight. And the thing here is everyone's calling it a fluke because she got that slam KO. But if you watch the fight, she slammed her twice before that KO. So it's one of those things where it's would it really shock you if it happened again? I do see her being able to slam her again. I just don't know if she'll be able to knock her out again. But yeah, like you were saying, I just think she's a more technical fighter, and I just think that the adjustments that she has to make are way smaller than the ones that Andrade has to make. So it's just one of those things where I think if Rose fixes a couple of things in her game, I think she could at least win the first 2 rounds. And I think that a 3-round fight here really favors her. So I'll take her by decision. I think she wins the first 2 rounds, but I think the 3rd round could get sketchy. But I definitely think the value is on Andrade at plus 165, but I'm just passing personally.
So next fight, this is the first fight of our 3 title fights. We got Peter Yan versus Jose Aldo. This is a great fight, really good fight. Kelton, who you got here?
You said it, man. Great fucking fight. I mean, honestly, this might spoil my breakdowns on the next couple fights, but I think this is definitely the most competitive of the 3 title fights. So Peter Yan's coming in here. This is like a really big step up for him. So it's interesting to see him at the minus 200 odds. I mean, obviously with Jose Aldo, man, we're talking about a fucking legend. And in my opinion, with all the people, it's crazy how many people were doubting him and his move to 135 pounds last time. But it's so different with Jose Aldo. You see other fighters make moves like that, and it's kind of career desperation. I wouldn't quite call it career desperation with Jose Aldo because he was going out and winning big fights at featherweight, knocking out Renato Moicano, knocking out Jeremy Stevens. So I think he moved down to 135 pounds for a good reason. He says he can make it healthy. He looks healthy. He looks fucking amazing, man. And so big too. Marlon he fought last time, and Marlon is one of the biggest, most powerful guys in the division, and he outsized Marlon in that fight. And that was a really good performance by Jose Aldo. And one thing a lot of people aren't talking about, making that first fight in the new weight class, it takes a little adjusting. And I always bring up Rafael Dos Anjos moving up to 170 pounds. He fought, I think it was Tarek Safadine in his debut, and he didn't look that great in that fight. He got the win, but it just, you could tell he needed that one fight to make the adjustment to the new weight class. So I arguably think Jose Aldo will look even more comfortable at this new weight class this second time around. And man, when he is fresh, he's so dangerous, man. Those body shots. Obviously we don't see it too much these days, but just known as the leg kick legend from back in WEC and even his early UFC career. I think he can bring back those leg kicks here, man. And I think he can work the body. I think in those first couple of rounds, it's going to be big problems for Peter because he's at a big size disadvantage. I think Aldo is going to be the more powerful guy early on. It's just, man, if there's one thing about Jose Aldo, the guy slows down, and especially in 5-round fights, wow, it's going to be a tall task to beat Peter Yan here over 5 rounds. So I'm going to say Jose Aldo comes out here and wins the first couple rounds, but then Peter Yan, if he's not too compromised by that point, I see him really putting it on Jose Aldo later in the fight. He's got big power. We've seen Jose Aldo kind of put away in the back half of the fight against Max Holloway. I always bring up the Chad Mendes fight from back in the day, their second one. Love that fight, one of my favorites ever. Chad Mendes was starting to have success late in that fight. People have success late against Jose Aldo, man, and I think Peter Yan is ready for the UFC title, man. So I'm going to pick him via round 4 TKO.
Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, man, this is another one I've been going back and forth on. And it's one of those things where I'm looking at the line, and I do think the line is a little bit wide. I do think it should be a little bit closer. It's really tough, man, because I can see Aldo, putting it on him on those first couple of rounds and even maybe, getting a finish. I know that's crazy to say just because we haven't really seen Peter Yan get finished, but it's just one of those things where he's so much bigger, and I think he hits a lot harder than Yan. But obviously, what happens if it goes to the later rounds? If this gets into, round 4 and 5, what's going to happen? I mean, last fight, he did look good at 135 against Marlon. And he took a huge head kick like 10 seconds into that fight and, recovered right away. So I do think he could still take a shot, especially at 135. Like I said, I think it's either Aldo early or Peter Yan, late. But if I'm, betting this fight, I would definitely take the dog shot on Aldo, but I'm just not confident. I am going to take him as my pick. I'll take Aldo by 2nd round KO, but it's kind of one of those wild picks that, I just think it's dog or pass. I think the line's a little bit too wide, but it wouldn't shock me if Yan finished him late. So I'll go ahead and take Aldo. I'll take him by a 2nd round KO.
Yeah, man, I picked against Aldo a lot lately. I think I picked against him in his last 6 fights. I'm 4-2. He looked good against Marlon, but I still think Marlon won. And I still think he's at the end of his career. I don't know if people agree with me there, but I just think he's taking so much damage, man. And I think Yan has that style, man, to really just fucking take it to him, dude. The forward pressure, dude, he's gonna break him. I feel like, man. Yan, he's a good fighter, man. He's probably the best guy in the division, in my opinion. The guy's fucking boxing, dude. Everything about him I like a lot, man. Aldo's definitely the bigger guy, so I'm really curious to see face-offs and stuff because he's in a, the thing is, look, if he actually fucking threw leg kicks now, it'd be different. It'd be a different story. That's not the same Aldo anymore. The guy doesn't even throw leg kicks anymore, dude. He has a good right hand, but terrible cardio. Fucking the chin is just deteriorating as well. I know he ate some big shots against Marlon, but Yan is going to throw so much more volume, dude, than Marlon did, and Yan hits like a truck, dude. Great right hand, good jab, good pressure. I think Yan's going to sleep him, dude. So I'm going to go with Peter Yan with I'm going to go with the 2nd round TKO. Next fight, we got Max fucking Holloway versus Alex Volkanovski. Fucking Kelton changed his pick in this fight like 100 times and all this stuff. Mark, who do you got?
Yeah, so this is actually my most confident pick on the card. I got Volkanovski, man. It's just one of those things where, you go back and watch that first fight, it's like he won decisively. If you turn off that biased commentary, I honestly thought he won at least 4 rounds, possibly even 5 rounds. And it's just one of those things where it's like people are saying, oh, Holloway's going to come in here and make the adjustments. But, as if Volkanovski can't make adjustments either. You know what I mean? And, if Max comes out here and, presses forward more and be more aggressive, I think he gets countered. And if he plays the patient approach like he did last fight, I think he gets that leg, chewed up again. So, I just think it's a really tough stylistic matchup for Holloway. I just think Volkanovski has his number, and I have 2 units at -200. I thought that held a lot of value. Let me see where the line's at right now. And it's back down to -200. So, like I said, that's my most confident pick on the card. I think it's pretty straightforward. I actually see Volkanovski finishing this time. I think Holloway's taken too much damage. He's been a great champion, but usually we see these long reigning champions, once they lose their title, they don't really get it back. Yeah, I'm not saying that can't happen here because, anything could happen in a fight, but I just don't see it happening, man. And I think Volk should be minus 300 personally. So, yeah, I just see a lot of value in that line, and I got him by 4th round TKO.
Kelton, what do you got?
Yeah, man. So what Justin is referring to, I actually tweeted out. So after the last card, I went through, looked at the betting odds, and I actually tweeted out, I said, in quote, for coming from someone who took the plus 165 underdog odds on Volkanovski this time, I believe the value is on Max Holloway this time. However, I went in, and I do remember that as a close fight, man. I know live scoring, even though I bet Volkanovski, I did give Max Holloway rounds 4 and 5. I thought he was kind of starting to take over late. And, even when I go back and watch that fight, man, I still scored rounds 4 and 5 for Max Holloway. It was really close, though. I thought both of those rounds arguably could have gone either way. That being said, man, Volkanovski did clearly win. I thought rounds 1 through 3 were just clear as day. So the guy definitely clearly won the fight. And so I'm just looking for any reason whatsoever to think of why this fight might go differently, whether that's in favor of Max Holloway or whether that's in favor of Volkanovski. And then we get this interview from Max Holloway a little earlier in the week, and he's coming out and saying he's training on Zoom for this camp. And do I believe he trained this entire? Do I believe he trained the entire camp on Zoom? No, probably not. But the main thing I took away from that interview, man, is just I don't see the hunger for Max Holloway anymore. And even watching the embeddeds and just overall, like the what's it called, the countdown, just I don't know if it's the same hunger for Max Holloway anymore. He's out there playing a lot more video games these days. And do I think he fought his entire training camp on Zoom? No. Do I think maybe he had a couple sessions on Zoom? Yeah, probably. He probably did. So, really, when I think about it, and Mark, you brought up a great point. People will say Max Holloway can make adjustments in this fight. Absolutely, Alexander Volkanovski can too. And, the way the trajectories are going, you said it historically when champions lose their titles, it's kind of downhill from there. But why I think it could actually maybe be different for Max Holloway is because he is only 28 years old. But then when I dig into the stats, like, dude's taken a lot of punches in his last few fights. Like, I want to say he's absorbed some crazy shit, like over 1,000 strikes. Like, of course, he's landing a lot of strikes too. But, man, even though he's only 28 years old, like, Max Holloway might be a little older than that in fight years, if we're being honest. Whereas Alexander Volkanovski practically barely taken any damage in his UFC career. So I think Alexander Volkanovski is going to win this fight more clearly. I'm going to agree with you, Mark. I'm going to say he gets a TKO this time, man. And I like what you said. It kind of depends on Holloway's approach. If he does want to be a little more aggressive this time, I think it'll definitely be a knockout. I think Volk will definitely find an opening at that point. And if Max wants to take the more patient approach, we're probably going to see something similar to last time, a clear Volkanovski decision. So kind of flip-flop my stance on where the value lies on this one, but I'm going with Volkanovski, and I got minus 200 as well for 3 units to win 1.5.
Yeah, I'm completing the trifecta here. The first fight, what a good fight, but still, Volkanovski pretty much dominated that fight. The weight kicks were good. Max, man, he took so much damage against Dustin Poirier, man. I feel like, I don't know. Like, I don't think he's washed up or anything. I just think that Volkanovski is the better fighter. I know he looked really good against T-City, but if you watch the last fight with Volk and Max, Volk's fucking just outworked him, dude. He looked good in that fight. Great boxing. He has good grappling. Obviously, we didn't see the grappling because it's really hard to take down Max. Everything's good about him, man. Good chin, good cardio, good jab. Everything. And Max is still a great fighter. But like you said, we don't even know if Max has really been training. Max is obviously the bigger guy, and Max really has great striking as well. But the thing is, Volkanovski, he pushes the pace, and that's how he wins a lot of these fights. He's always going to be in Max's face. He's not going to let Max, dictate the pace. So I do agree with Mark. I do think that Volkanovski gets a finish here, man. I think all the damage that he's been taking lately, I think Volk's going to hurt him, man, and get him out of there. But I still think that, this is kind of off topic, but I think Korean Zombie is going to knock out Volkanovski when they fight. I really do. I think Korean Zombie is going to be the guy that are throwing him. But yeah, I got Volkanovski with a let's go second round TKO. Next fight, going to keep the short and sweet. We got, I mean, obviously the best fight in the card. We got Jorge Masvidal versus Kamaru Usman. I don't care what anyone says. I know a lot of people out there probably going to disagree with my statement here, but I think Colby Covington is the only fighter in the division that can beat Usman, in my opinion. I mean, Colby Covington, I don't care what anyone says, like I already mentioned 300 times. I thought he was going to fucking win that fight until, all the fucking the low blows, all that shit, dude, that Usman was fucking pulling in that fight. I hope they rematch. I do think Covington can beat him. But with that being said, Usman's just such a good fighter, dude. I mean, fucking great grappler, great striking, man. I like Masvidal a lot. I actually hope he wins this fight a lot. I mean, I really hope he wins this fight. And on the feet, it's close. I mean, yeah, Usman, his striking's great. I mean, he's really technical. Good right hand, but let's be honest. Masvidal's the better striker. I really think he is. I think he's more technical. I think that his right hand's really good. I think the career turnaround after the fight with Boy, I mean, he's been sweeping these guys. He killed Diaz, number one. Number two, fucking wrecked Darren Till. And then 3, fucking, I mean, destroyed fucking Askren. But Usman's the best grappler in the division, man, besides Colby. And, I mean, I just see him taking him down, man. That's the thing. But, I mean, would it surprise me if Masvidal got an upset here? No. I mean, Masvidal's, still one of the best guys in the division. But I just can't pick against Usman unless it's Colby, man. So I'm going to go with Usman. I think he's going to wrestle fuck Masvidal. And I don't think he's going to finish him because, I mean, it's really hard to finish Masvidal. But, yeah, I think Masvidal has moments in this fight. I think that he hurts Usman, actually. But Usman just, dude, the guy is fucking grappling, dude. Is so fucking good, man. His striking is good, too. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he had success on the feet against Masvidal. But I do think that Masvidal is a better striker. So, and the thing with Usman that I like so much about him is that his cardio, dude. I mean, the guy's so fucking big. He looks like he's on trend and all this shit, but his cardio is legit, dude. So I'm going to go with Usman with the decision. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, you said it perfectly, man. Usman's just a fucking monster. Like, his game is just so good, and it's so complete. Like, I don't see really any holes in his game at all. I mean, the only thing I think he could improve on is his striking. He's a little bit robotic when he strikes. But obviously being, with Trevor Whitman now in Colorado, I think that's going to be huge for him. I think we'll see improved striking in this one. And, I do have Usman by decision here. I think he, mixes them the takedowns. I think he'll fare well striking with Jorge, but I don't think he should be striking for too long because, Jorge does have really good boxing. So, it wouldn't shock me to see him catch him with something. But yeah, man, Usman's just, he's too physical. I got Usman by decision. I'll say a 49-46. I'll give one round to Jorge.
Yeah, man, I'll complete it. I got Kamaru Usman here as well. I say it's a shame that Gilbert Burns pulled, but obviously we got this entirely new fight, which is arguably even more exciting. But I was really looking forward to that Usman Burns fight. I thought that was definitely a lot more stylistically intriguing, but obviously based off name value, this one's probably more intriguing. I also thought that Gilbert Burns fight was a little tougher than this one is just because when Usman comes in here and takes down Jorge Masvidal, there isn't really any kind of a submission threat. That's not to say Jorge Masvidal has no grappling. The guy definitely has grappling, but I mean, if Kamaru Usman went and took down Gilbert Burns in that fight, that would have got real interesting because we know how good Burns' BJJ is. But we got Masvidal here, man, and I think arguably Masvidal has more of a striking and knockout threat than Gilbert Burns, even though Gilbert Burns has a good striking of his own right. It's just, man, when a fighter is red hot, usually the trend continues, man. And Jorge Masvidal is the definition of red hot right now. It's just, problem is he's fighting fucking Kamaru Usman, arguably the best welterweight we've ever seen. I think he can. Justin mentioned Colby Covington can beat him, but I mean, dude, I saw Kamaru Usman knock out Colby Covington in the 5th round of that fight. You can bring up all the shenanigans you want, but personally, I had Usman up 3-1 in that fight, and I think Kamaru Usman is the better fighter than Colby Covington. Always have thought that. But man, what I liked most about that Colby Covington fight from Kamaru Usman, and like a big reason why I'm even more comfortable here picking him is we all know what a fucking cardio machine Colby Covington is. And the fact that Kamaru Usman was able to go in there and have such a high volume fight with a guy like Colby Covington and then knock out the cardio machine in round 5. I mean, dude, that just shows me like everything I need to know about Kamaru Usman's cardio. I don't think we're going to have any problem with maybe he takes down Jorge Masvidal in the first 3 rounds and then kind of slows down. We saw that with Curtis Blades in his most recent fight against Alexander Volkov. Volkov really, Volkov's a big guy and made him work, so he slowed down. But Kamaru Usman's just a machine, man, and the guy can probably go fucking 50 minutes, honestly. So it's going to be hard for Jorge to win this fight. I feel like once Usman gets maybe a couple minutes of top control, makes Masvidal carry his weight, it's going to be hard for Masvidal to land a knockout shot there, and it's going to be even harder to win rounds on points. So I kind of view this as like a round 1 knockout or bust situation for Jorge Masvidal, but I'm not even going to write that out a possibility. I think he can do it. I mean, like I said, the guy's on hot fire right now, and he definitely has power in his hands. I think out of his recent win streak, I'd say Darren Till is definitely the most impressive win out of that streak. Obviously, Ben Askren turned out to be a total fraud, and Nate Diaz, I'm a fan of Nate Diaz, but I don't view him as top competition. No disrespect. I think the Darren Till fight, we're talking about a Darren Till that moved up to middleweight, man, and Jorge just came in there and slept him bad. That was a great performance. So I'm not going to write off Jorge, but Kamaru Usman will be the pick. I'll give Kamaru Usman a 50-45. And one other thing I want to say, I do think Kamaru Usman is easily the best DraftKings play on this card because he's placed at 8,900. He's cheaper than Rosa Namajunas, cheaper than Carol Rosa, cheaper than Amanda Ribas, cheaper than Volkanovski, cheaper than all these guys. And if you look at his last 3 scores, let me pull this up real quick. So out of Usman's last 3 scores on DraftKings, all of those are in the top 3 highest scores of all time. He got 147, 131, and 176. And what I'm viewing at this fight is I think Jorge Masvidal lasts the 5 rounds. So I think we're going to see a lot of takedowns from Kamaru Usman. And then one other thing, dude, I was looking at Usman's stats, bro. He advances position so many times. So he advanced position against Woodley 7 times, advanced position 7 times against RDA, who's a high-level BJJ black belt, advanced position 7 times against Emil Meek. Dude, Usman isn't just a wrestler, bro. He can grapple too, and he can just out-muscle guys into good positions. So, and then another thing, Jorge Masvidal, he actually got taken down a lot at lightweight. Of course, that's a different weight class and forever ago, but in those fights, he got taken down a few times, and he showed a good get-up game. So I could just see a situation where he's getting up a lot in this fight. So I think Kamaru Usman is live to come out here and score some ridiculous Merab Dvalishvili type number of takedowns in this fight, 12 or 15. So Kamaru Usman all day long at DraftKings, guys.
Yo, Kelton, I got to ask, man. Do you see value in minus 225 for Usman?
Yeah, I do. I think that line's going to keep getting better too, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, I could see minus 200-ish, but I don't see any lower than that, though. I think we'll see some big bets coming in on Usman closer to fight night.
Yeah,
but who knows?
I think the big, sharp, money whales are waiting till fight die to move in on Kamaru Usman. They're just figuring, hey, look, all this money is coming in on Jorge Masvidal. He's a huge name. All the casual bettors are going to be tossing their $50, $100 bets on Jorge Masvidal. Let's just keep letting this line come down, and then on fight day, we'll smash that Usman minus 200. That's what I see happening. So, yeah, I think we could get minus 190 even on Usman, which would be fucking incredible.
That'd be nice. Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be crazy. But yeah, man, before I shout you guys out, do you guys want to talk about your bets real quick? I'll do mine because I only have one. So my play is only going to be on Jiri. Kelton, you want to tell everyone your plays?
Yeah, I got 3 right now. I'm most likely going to add a 4th. That 4th is just going to depend on line movement. Like we just mentioned, Usman's on my radar. If that hits minus 200, Julian Paiva's on my radar if that gets better than -150. And I think there was one other one. I was actually viewing. So the over in the Peter Yan Jose Aldo fight is set at 2.5 rounds, which kind of really surprises me. I think there's a lot of value on the over 2.5 in that fight, but I don't know. Historically, I've sucked at totals, so I'm just going to stay away from it. And then the other one I was looking at, if Maxime Grisham hits decent dog money again, even Zaleski dos Santos, man, like there's a lot of good opportunities on this card. It's just we got 2 days left till fight day, so let the line movement commence. We'll see what happens. But as of right now, I got the big play on Volkan Oezdemir, 5 units at -150. I got 3 units on the underdog in the first fight, Davy Grant, +155, and then 3 units on Alexander Volkanovski at -200.
Yeah,
nice,
Mark,
man.
you're not Tao, are you?
No, I'm not.
Okay, good. I don't want to be like, oh shoot, I didn't know you were a Tao, and then I fucking weaken your plays.
No, you're good, man. But yeah, so I have 5 plays. I usually don't have this many plays, but I just like a lot of spots on this card. I got 2 units on Volkanovski at -200. I got 1 unit on Volkan Oezdemir at -150. I got Paiva at -180 for 1 unit. 1 unit on Leo Santos for -165, and then I got Zaleski dos Santos at a pick'em for 1 unit.
Nice, man. Yeah, I'm sure you'll come on again, man. Thanks again for coming on. Everyone, go check out MMA King. A lot of people in the chat, man, are saying, you know, how fucking badass you are, dude. So definitely you'll be coming on again. Kelton, Mark, anything you guys want to say before we go?
Yeah, guys, definitely go follow Mark on Twitter. You can find him at MMA King. Is it MMA King 1993?
Yep, that's it.
Yep. So go follow him. Follow his plays. He's absolutely killing it this year. Props to you, man. Keep up the good work.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
you're
thanks,
killing
man.
it.
I appreciate it, guys.
You're killing it,
Yeah.
man. I mean, me and Kellen are, you know, kind of in the swamp right now, but it's what it is.
No, you guys are the OGs, man. I remember watching you guys a couple of years ago on here doing the show. So it's just really cool to, you know, finally be on here with you guys. So, you know, I thank you guys for letting me be on your show, and I'd love to hop back on. This was a lot of fun.
Anytime, man. You'll be on soon, man. Whenever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we'll be back next week for Wednesday's card. I mean, we got what, 3 cards in like 7 days. I cannot wait. And yeah, so thanks again, man. Thanks everyone on here for liking, subscribing, and we'll be back next week. And we are out.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.